So what we got today?
Just wanted to have a quick conversation with you, James, about this article, and it talks a little bit about crypto, but it's a bit of a kind of a biography on the new SEC chief. His name is Gary Gensler, and he's got a bit of a background in crypto. He was at MIT, and he's done a lot of research in this space. But it raises a couple interesting thoughts around regulation and areas that we can talk about, which is like gamification of these kind of investments, or places where people put their money. So I just want to get your thoughts first on the crypto space in general. As a bit of background, it's a $1.6 trillion space. What are your thoughts?
I'm wondering how much of that 1 point whatever trillion came from the unemployment benefits last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've only been following in that sense because I think we had that, the original Bitcoin boom, and then that faded out. And then last year, COVID comes, and I feel like you started to see it was kind of high last year, right? I mean, shit was going on a run.
Yep.
And then it continued up until it busted out here a little bit more recently. But I think a lot of people are trying to figure out why is it going up so much? Why is there so much money pouring into it? And you had these people thinking, we're on a edge of a societal collapse, right? COVID's gonna crash it, the dollar's gonna be worthless. Put it all in crypto. And
yeah.
Then society didn't collapse. And then so now you're sitting there and go, well, where's all the money coming from? And you're trying to figure out, is it Wall Street people pumping it up? Was it really a bunch of unemployment money or the stimulus money? Which I think we're starting to find out as soon as they kind of trimmed off the stimmy and the unemployment, then you watch crypto kind of fade, right?
Yep.
And now it's like, well, where are we at right now? Is this stuff, is it going to continue to become more stable? Is it investment grade? Is this going to be something for more merchants? Regulations coming, and you goddamn know taxes coming, right? Like, no,
Yeah.
there's no country on this planet that's not going to let that go untaxed. I'm looking at all this stuff right now, thinking, man, we got a long way to go. A lot of money.
Sorry, James, go ahead.
Good. No.
What would it take for someone like you who, independently wealthy? So what would it take for crypto to become not just viable, but attractive to you as an investment?
Man, good question. I got to say the last. Good.
Is it regulation? Is it something like that would do it?
The sexy part of it is it's not regulated.
Right.
The word regulation sucks when you're trying to make a bunch of money, but I feel like we're in this. I lived through the 2001 tech boom, and it was exciting. Crazy money being made, completely irrational. Give me 2 dice. I'm rolling that shit at the crap table, right? That was 2001, and I feel like sometimes that's crypto.
Mm-hmm.
And you're pouring money into it, and it's fun. Investment grade, yeah, that's a different question, right? I mess around with some cryptos here and there because I'm trying to learn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm paying attention. Like, I watch one right now, bounces up and down 5% almost every other day.
Yeah.
And it's like a little mini. It reminds me of 2001 when you had these like pump and dumps going on.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it's happening every day right now. And there's someone that keeps winning on that 5% upswing, and there's a bunch of people that keep losing on that 5% downswing. But you start thinking about regulation. You almost need a regulation if you want to say I'm going to put a lot of money into this. If I'm not gambling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because regulation would bring some kind of stability. But I feel like since it's not regulated right now, I feel like maybe Elon Musk is doing that. It's like, whoa, we're going into Bitcoin. Shit shoots up, they make a bunch of money. They sell it probably, I'm guessing. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Then they're like, oh, it's bad for the environment. We're going to stop taking Bitcoin. Shit crashes.
Yep.
A little while later, hey, we might take Bitcoin again. Shit pops back up. So what's preventing them from just manipulating that market right there? Is that really good for all the consumers out there, all the investors, to let that happen? I don't know. And that's where it's like, well, you don't want regulation until if that is what's happening. Well, then you're like, well, they need to regulate that. I don't know, man. There's obviously people making money in it. Is that something that you're gonna say? I want to put I'm putting my retirement in it. I don't know.
Right. Because that brings up an angle that we've talked about this before when we were looking at different cryptos, but certain currencies offer an interest rate, or they have an APR attached to them, and we then enter the territory of probably having to regulate those as in the same bucket as like traditional financial products, right? Loans and things, because to not regulate those, I feel like starts to get dangerous. But I guess that's a topic for another day. What about the idea? Like, one thing that comes to mind when I think of crypto is it's very attached to kind of that Robinhood movement, which you talked about, kind of a lot of it being tied to the stimmy. But do you think it's an issue that a lot of the platforms play on that gamification, instant gratification kind of thing, that there's this wave of retail investor that's attracted to?
That was going to go back to your, again, for the people listening to this, and Kane's probably more of a savvy crypto person than I am. I'm messing around with cryptos. This is kind of as a candid conversation. I have friends that are like crazy into crypto, and like we're just on two different wavelengths. I'm thinking this conversation is more about average Joe. Yeah. Where's crypto going? But I'm going back to the interest rate. How is the government at some point going to say, well, you're getting interest, you got to pay tax on it?
Right.
Like there's things will fall into line at some point, right? And what are you going to do? You're going to change it and say, well, instead of a 6% APR, we're going to give you 6% reward tokens or something. They might, they'll find a way to make laws to get all that stuff, right? But why is that no different than a savings account or a money market account? It's just not on the books yet. But at some point, that shit's going to go on the books. What's whole countries is tax everything. Tax. I mean, certain places they buy food, they got to pay tax on it, but you're not going to pay tax on, money. Come on, dude.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of time. It'll be regulated in the same sense of when I make an investment in a company. I mean, the laws have changed multiple times here in recent years, but if you're an angel investor, let's say, you had to meet certain requirements of income or wealth to make certain classes of, because they said, we want to protect the people that aren't sophisticated investors or accredited investors, right?
Yep.
And then they knocked that down, and then there's a lot more crowd funding and all that type of shit. But, in that the same sense of they're trying to protect people from making investments. Yeah, way back when Facebook was coming up, the Gary V thing. I invested in Facebook. And I'm like, motherfucker, if you think that if I could have had the opportunity to invest in Facebook at that time that I wouldn't have, come on.
Yeah.
You had the shot. It was just you knew somebody, you had a connection, and most of those investments were closed off at that time unless you were higher net worth, right? And I think, a lot of us would have liked to get in on that shit, but we couldn't.
Yeah.
And then we broke down those barriers where, the smaller investors could start investing in those types of companies up to a certain amount. I don't know all those regulations, right? But there's two issues there. One, you did open the door up to smaller investors, which is cool. And a lot of people would like to get into Facebook. So we could all be sitting there sounding like Gary Vee right now, saying like, how smart I am, I invested in Facebook. The issue is I've seen people that they start doing this and they make those like micro investments or throwing $1,000 in and $2,000. I'm like, what do you plan on getting out of that?
Right.
Other than like saying I invested $1,000 in this company. Oh, return on investment. And I'm like, when? Like, you're going to get your fucking K1. Well, first off, they're like, what's a K1?
Yeah.
All right, so this is probably your first investment. You're going to get that K1 and you're going to be disappointed. Because it's going to be a piece of paper. You're going to invest $1,000. You're going to get like $1,000 back every year. Like, that shit ain't going to happen.
Right.
And they're like, well, when I sell or something, I'm like, well, what liquidity? What market's going to buy? Where are you going to go sell those shares? You're going to find how illiquid those fucking shares are.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, so we broke down those rules to allow people to invest, and you realize those rules were kind of there to keep certain people from, giving the startup $100,000 and just losing their retirement or their savings.
Right.
The thought of those laws were, you can afford to take the hit. You need $1 million of, I'm just making numbers up, I don't have the shit in front of me, but you need $1 million of net worth, not including your primary home or something. So if you put $100,000 in and you lose it, you can afford to take that hit. Can average Joe that's got $100K in their 401k, you'll take $50K and roll on a startup and lose it? Can they afford to do that? Those regulations were in place to kind of stop that from happening.
Yeah.
And I got it, because I feel like you should be able to do whatever the hell you want with your money. Like, no one should be telling you shit. Flip side, I see people making investments and they don't know what the K1 is.
Yeah.
And they don't realize they're just not going to be able to offload those shares. Like, they're basically going to have to go, in the most common ways, they're going to have to go public. Someone's going to have to buy them for the exit. I'm like, what do you think you're going to do? Throw this shit on Craigslist? Hey, man, buy my 1,000 shares of this new green soap company. Like, there's no market for that. Mark Cuban used to talk about that a long time ago. But that's where you're not really that sophisticated investor that knows that. Like, if I put an investment into a company that is in 90% of the shit we're talking about right now, I know my greatest chance is not even IPO. It's someone's gonna buy them, and that'll be my exit. Mm-hmm. I'm not looking to get a check every year. I don't got these big pipe dreams of IPO and become off of an angel investment. My thought is, I'm looking at this and I'm saying, this is a great company and a great brand. 5, 10, 15 years from now, long-term play, someone's going to buy them. And that'll be when I get my multiplier, right? I'll get some kind of decent exit on that.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the people I'm talking to is doing these smaller investments. They don't understand that. I mean, a lot of these same people are the ones that are throwing their money into crypto shit, thinking they're going to get rich overnight. And tell it to the people that bought Bitcoin at like 60,000.
Right.
And they're going to say, well, tell that to the people that bought Bitcoin at 5,000. I'm like, you're right. Those people are up. The problem is a shit ton of people bought it at 60 and now they lost half their money. But no one ever talks about the downs. We both like, a little bit of gamble and shit.
Sure.
But they would never talk about their losses. They would never talk about their losses.
No.
You're in Vegas, and the dude comes back and says, "Oh man, I went on blackjack streak, won $800." I'm like, shit, I know you've been there like 9 hours. How much? Well, I lost 1,500.
Yeah.
They didn't tell you the losses before they won like the $900 or whatever.
And everybody comes back from Vegas. Everybody comes back from Vegas having broken even.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's... Nah, you know what? It's not just I broke even. I at least paid for my hotel room.
Right.
Like, oh, yeah, okay. You did that in the slot machines, right?
Yeah.
Like, how many comps you get? Nah, I get no comps. God. Oh, okay. I got you. Like, oh man, like same thing kind of with the crypto, right? There's certain people made a bunch of money on crypto, but I know people that lost a shit ton of money. But you just never really hear about that. And then I wouldn't know about it unless they told me I bought crypto at 52,000 or whatever. I'm like, doesn't mean it's not going to go back up, Kane. It's that I think everyone thinks this is only it's going to be a net positive for everybody. People do lose. And it's like, are the people losing? Can they afford to?
Mm-hmm.
The Winklevoss, whatever the fuck, I'm sure they can afford to lose $1 billion or some shit. I don't know. But I think when you saw the pullback, here's what I think is happening. This is a broader economic issue. People weren't paying their rent. It was going into crypto. People weren't paying their school loans. It was going into crypto. People weren't paying any of that shit. It was going into GameStop, right?
Yeah.
Instead of taking care of the adult shit, a bunch of that money poured into these things thinking I'm going to get rich.
Yep.
Well, you didn't get rich. And then, Kane, there's people out there way more sophisticated. They're laughing at the retail investor, right? They're buying these options. They're doing all this other shit, riding that GameStop stuff up and down. Like, there's so many other things they're doing. Well, the retail investors pouring their money in. Now reality's starting to hit. We did this in another episode. Evictions are starting now.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to go back to work. You actually have to pay your rent. School loans are going to start getting paid in September, it looks like. Mortgages. That money's not going to pour in there anymore. Now, savings are up, right? Because people were taking unemployment and stimulus, and they weren't paying their bills. So that they either consume shit. Welcome to the great supply chain issue of 2021. Bought too much shit. Housing price, everything's just up because we had so much money. We're blowing money everywhere.
Yeah.
That's about the all end. And I think you saw the pullback happen initially in crypto when the input of money slowed down. Now people are used to spending at a certain velocity. And then when that income starts to dry up and then they got to start paying their bills again, well, I'm going to need to pull that money out of crypto.
Right.
Because I'm running out of money. I'm going to pull that money out of the GameStop shit because the free roll's done. I'm curious to see if that's what happens. And again, this is a lot of people that if it was regulated, such as the way that, startup investments were, maybe they wouldn't have been putting their money in there to begin with. So two things are going to happen. The smart money, if that does happen, is already out. And there's probably, I'm curious to go look at the short interest on GameStop or what the puts are, like the far out puts and the options, to see if people are banking on a collapse and those types of things. But people are going to need that money at some point. And it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I'm with you there. I feel kind of conflicted on crypto because it's fun. I think it's a fun thing to look at. But in terms of an investment, it's so volatile, as you said. And there's another stat that I came across, James. There's 97% confidence in crypto. This was in January of 2021, and confidence in as a viable investment vehicle. So people think that they're going to make money, and that's too high. As an idea that you can. That's almost certainty. Everybody thinks that they're going to make money in crypto, which is scary.
That's a little scary.
Yeah.
But I like the positivity.
Yeah.
I think over a 20-year period, they might go way up. But what's going to happen in the short term? And the people that do lose, can they afford to lose? But you know what, man? At the end of the day, nothing's stopping me from going to the casino, taking 10 grand, throwing it down on a number on roulette, and letting that wheel spin, right?
100%.
And I think that's life. And a lot of people might get rich or they might go broke, but I think that's your right to go do that. It's man, I'm about convenience. I'm not knee deep in this crypto shit. If I can't buy it on a major exchange or something, I'm not fucking with it. And I know there's a whole bunch of different wallets and this and that, and it's like, how are you going to regulate all that stuff? Or then they just call it something else. Now there's something new going on over here that kind of skirts around whatever law they put in place. It's like technology is always, 3 years ahead of the government. Nothing surprising here. It's there's like the bath salts craze going on, and like kids were like going insane smoking bath crystals or some shit. Like you go into a party store and there's like bath salts or something at the front. What the hell is this?
Yeah.
And it took them years. It took years for the government to crack down on that while kids were just ruining their brains smoking this shit.
I remember that.
You realize
I remember that.
So, but think about how long it took them to stop that and regulate that. And do you think the government's ever going to keep up with what's going on in the crypto world, or call it something like NFTs and this other shit, like all this other stuff going on, right? What they'll do is they'll just call it something else. Like it's not synthetic marijuana. It's a marijuana. It's a bath salt. It's not crypto. It's this. And unless they put some really broad language in there that tries to stomp down on everything. So technologies are always going to be ahead of the government. Same way hackers are always, by the time Microsoft puts something out, they've done hacked it, and then Microsoft's got to react to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where we're going to be with cryptos, right? So
that makes sense.
Yeah, I don't know. This is like for me, average Joe conversation on what I'm thinking. I know people like live and breathe this shit all day long.
Right.
I'm interested in it, and I'm following along, and I'm going to play a little bit here and there and kind of see how stuff goes. But you see an opportunity to make money, you try to make some money. It's just, there's very few things on this planet right now that financially, short of a market collapse where you can wake up and, huge sums of money can just be erased overnight with almost no reason. Yeah. And I think that's the issue with crypto. Flip side, it can go up just like that too. Mm-hmm. But it really feels like gambling sometimes, because there's a lot of times it just goes up and down for no reason.
Yeah, for sure.
The difference with stocks and other investments and all these other investment vehicles is they at least have some insight to why, I'm invested in this, natural gas company, but one of their plants just blew up. It's like, well, I understand why it went down. I'll get an alert on my phone that XYZ thing's down 10%, and there's just no reason why. The best, if you Google it, the best explanation someone has is on Twitter, and they're like, supply and demand, bro. Like, you want me to make like major investment decisions based on the greatest insight you can find about this particular crypto is supply and demand, bro.
Supply and
I'm
demand,
like,
bro.
That says, let me put my retirement in that shit. I just think that's where we're at right now.
All right. Yeah, I did just quick conversation there. Nothing too deep.
It's just something. I mean, it's something we're both interested in. Obviously, at least I know you're way more. I'm no rocket scientist. Actually, I'm not a rocket scientist when it comes to shit, but especially not this. Not just from I invest in companies. I obviously, I'm trying to make money and whatnot. This is my perspective on the type of person I am and where I see cryptos.
Perfect.
Maybe that'll change in 6 months. We'll see. But that's all I got for this one. I'm going to catch you.
All right. Thank you.